Okay, today we're going to be taking a look at how you go about finding the inverse function. Alright, now I have already lined out some steps for you to follow. Alright, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to change your f of x to a y. Step number 2, you're going to then switch the x and the y. Then you're going to, for step 3, solve the equation that you have for y. And then your final step then would just be to rewrite into function notation. Okay, so we're going to implement those 4 steps on the given function. I have a function here, f of x equals 7 over x minus 3. Alright, step 1 says to change f of x to y. So that's what I'm going to do. Right here, I am going to change that to a y. I'm just going to replace it. So y equals 7 over x minus 3. Okay. Step 2 says to switch the x and the y. So the y is on the left, the x is on the right. All I am going to do is just literally switch those 2 variables around. So I will have an x on this side equals 7 over y minus 3. Alright, now I have to go through. I now have a new equation. Step 3 takes a little bit of effort because it now says solve for y. So I'm going to go through this equation and I'm going to attempt to solve for y. Alright, first thing I want to do is isolate the 3, get the 3 over to the other side. It says minus 3. Doing the opposite of that would be adding 3 over there, and then adding 3 on the left-hand side as well. The 3's on the right-hand side are going to cross out. When I choose to write the next line here, I want to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to go x plus 3 equals 7 over y. Alright, now I'm still trying to solve for y. I need to do the opposite of what I see over here. I've got 7 divided by y. Alright, the opposite of dividing by y would be multiplying by y. I'm going to go ahead and do that because I think it's going to be a simpler approach here. If I multiply both sides by y, even though I am trying to solve for y, what's going to happen is I'm going to eliminate this fraction. So by multiplying by y, I can cross out the y's on the right-hand side, and in essence that has just then moved it over on the left-hand side. Alright, I am going to clean it up, rewrite the equation. Y parentheses x plus 3 parentheses equals 7. Okay, now I am still trying to solve for y. I want to isolate y and get it on one side by itself. This is a binomial. I've got a set of parentheses around that because when I multiplied both sides by y in the previous step, I had to multiply it by the entire quantity, which turned out to be a binomial. So now I can divide both sides because right there, y times that binomial. I want to isolate my y, so I'm going to divide by x plus 3. I'm going to divide by x plus 3 on the right-hand side. Left-hand side, those 2 binomials are going to cross out, which is what we want. Cleaning this up a little bit, I'm going to have y equals 7 over x plus 3. So I have now successfully solved this equation for y. 4th step says to rewrite into function notation. So I have found this function right here that I have found is the inverse of my original function. My original function was called f of x. So when I rewrite into function notation, I need to indicate that it is the inverse. So the inverse of f is equal to 7 over x plus 3. And there you have finding the inverse of a function.